Hey everyone, my name is Shanice and welcome back to my channel. Today I am having another entry in my book to film, or I guess in this instance TV show adaptation series. This time it is The Lying Life of Adults by Elena Ferrante, translated from the Italian by Anne Goldstein. So I actually reviewed this book back in May and I gave it 3 stars, and let me just hold it up so you see what it looks like. Generally speaking, I did enjoy this. This is about a young girl named Giovanna. She is part of the cultural elite, so she lives not in the totally wealthy part of Naples, but the more educated cultural class of Naples. Although her father, originally from Naples, lived in a much different area that he does not talk about, he doesn't go back to, he doesn't associate with. He very much has distanced himself from where he came from. And so Giovanna, the main character, doesn't really identify with that side of Naples, doesn't go near that side of Naples, just doesn't know that part of her identity. Until, in the beginning of the book, till one day, she overhears her father talking to her mother and comparing her physically to Vittoria, who is her aunt, so her father's sister. Her father's sister, Vittoria, still lives in the other neighborhoods, the more low-income neighborhoods of Naples where her father was born and raised, and rejects her brother's condescension and distance. She thinks he's being phony and isn't being who he really is. And so because the father has always had this negative opinion of Vittoria, when Giovanna hears that, she assumes the worst. She thinks that her father thinks that she's ugly and she's a monster because all they talk about Vittoria are negative things. So of course what her father means by this is that she's a bad person, or she's ugly, she's bad. This sparks her interest in actually getting to know Vittoria, and this in turn changes her life. We learn in the beginning that she ends up leaving Naples for good, forever, and the book kind of tells us why and what led up to that moment. So for me, Ferrante just has such a masterful writing style. She gets the nuances. She does focus a lot on details. If you've ever read her books, you know that she can take one moment in time and turn it into pages and pages of description. I personally love that. I love the details. I love the acuity of all the emotions. It just feels so real and the place so lived in. I feel like I am in Naples all the time. She showcases everyone's class insecurities really well. It touches on basically all of the themes of the Neapolitan Quartet, in all honesty, which I think for me was the book's downfall a little bit, because I just feel like the Neapolitan Quartet is so much better and richer. And it's like, reading this, it's like, we've been there before, Ferrante, and you've done it better in those books, so I kind of want to read those books instead. And the plot here isn't as packed and as tight for me as Neapolitan Quartet. Sometimes it fell a little thin. Still, Ferrante writes ferociously, with power, and she's just fierce. She's amazing. As with a lot of Ferrante's books, we have an unlikable young female character who makes choices that I definitely didn't agree with, but the way that Ferrante explores and writes interiority, even though you don't agree with them, you can still kind of understand where they're coming from. And because of that rich interiority and the vivid, visceral descriptions of time and place, Ferrante is, I think, meant also for the screen. Like, her works translate so well to the screen. And so knowing that this was a TV show, I knew I had to watch it right away. So to compare this to the TV series, the 6-episode TV series, which is on Netflix now if you have Netflix, and I'm going to put this down, was a very interesting adaptation. Not what I expected, but had positives, but generally had some negatives too. So while I give the book 3 stars, I think for the TV show I would give 2.5 maybe kind of 3, but more 2.5 stars. It is faithful in plot points. So the events that took place in the book very much took place in the TV show. The characters are the same, you know, there really aren't any changes. The beats of the story are there. I think the show did a really great job dividing the action into 6 episodes. Acting wise, Valeria Jolino, I think that's how you say her name. She's the actress who played Aunt Victoria. Superb. Also, you have some familiar faces if you've ever seen My Brilliant Friend. You have Giovanni Buscelli, who plays Roberto, and he is Enzo in My Brilliant Friend. He's here. He does a great job as like a creepy, sort of charming, religious professor. I think Alessandro Preziosi as Andrea, who is Giovanna's dad. Also phenomenal job, but just generally great cast. Also Maria Verratti, who is Giuliana, who is, well, I don't want to spoil anything, but she is a young character in the book as well. Giordana Marengo, she is the main character. She is Giovanna. She's fine. Nothing bad, but this is generally where I feel the show, I don't know where it was going, where I felt like the faithfulness of the plot points dissipated in the execution of the artistic production, I guess. It was, to me, kind of anachronistic in terms of costuming, the music. Oh my god, the music was unbearable. It's like jarring and jolted and stilted. It's like this annoying electronic, like spoken, repetitive nonsense that happens in every episode. Features like dialogue but made into kind of music, and it's weird. It's weird. It took me out of it. Everyone looked like they belonged in more of a punk movie. I guess it is supposed to be technically in the 90s, but I don't know, it just seems like anachronistic. They're the colored hair and like the combat boots, and I don't know, maybe that's a misunderstanding on my part, that I visualized the setting differently than what it was supposed to be. Maybe the show is actually accurate, but felt off. And the music, trash, hated it. The pacing suffered for me. It was rather slow. Like, it took me forever to get past episode 3. I just never wanted to go back into it, even though the story was fine. But, you know, My Brilliant Friend, this was not. I think it did redeem itself by the end, because of the strong acting and the emotional depth that the actors brought out of the kind of thin plot. So, you know, it's not overall a bad series. I've definitely seen worse, but mixed reaction overall. And yeah, that is my very quick review of The Lying Life of Adults. Please let me know if you enjoyed the TV series adaptation. If you did, if you didn't, let me know why. I'm curious to see. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all next week. Bye.